Yeah, Sis and Tell, a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up, Alison's on TV, and when they hop on the phone, it's the place you wanna be. Sis and Tell, Sis and Tell.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Why did you just turn into like a cartoon character? That was weird.
You think I just turned into a cartoon character? I can't help but do voices. Like when I see a dog, here's the thing. For my own dogs, they have voices, right? And I think it's normal for people to do voices for their own dogs. Not sure how normal it is for people to do voices for all the other dogs they see. And that's what I do. And I do like, this is what the dog is thinking. And then I come up with a persona pretty quickly. And I'm thinking maybe I'm actually an animal communicator, right? And I am able to understand the dog's intent and what they need.
Or maybe you just have a lot of time on your hands.
No.
So feels like a very large dedicated effort to conversing or creating conversations with animals.
No, it's not. And it's not like I'm Dr. Dolittle and they're actually speaking to me. It's like it's not like I'm spending much time. I don't have a notebook and I'm like, outlining who they are and their favorite song and their backstory.
I hope not.
It's an immediate thing. And I'm like, what's the difference between me and those people who are claiming to be animal communicators and they have their own show on TLC? We will never find out what the animal is actually thinking. So how do you know if they're BS or not? Right? So I'm like, I am also an animal communicator and that's going to be my new profession.
I gotcha. Did I ever tell you when we first named our show for PBS, The A List, when we came back to the studio and we were so excited, my executive producer at the time said, so there's good news and bad. The good news is I love the name The A List. The bad news is it's already taken. Well, and we said, what? And he said, there's a show already out on Animal Planet called The A List. And I thought, well, nobody's going to confuse me with these animal talkers, right? And he said, so we'll just name yours The A List with Alison Lebovitz. But I know if the PBS show doesn't work out, I mean, I can always go to Animal Planet and say, I've already, we can enhance what you've already got. And maybe I should start talking to animals or doing animal voices. I can get you on too.
That's our show. It's you. I will be I'll be the conduit. Okay. And you come up with all the questions. Right.
That's it. I'm going to transition to interviewing animals and you will do their voices as they answer the questions.
Right.
This has legs. No pun intended. It's got 4 legs. It's got 4 legs. I think we can make it work.
I don't know. If it's a kangaroo, it's just 2 hoppy legs.
Yeah.
So. That's funny.
Well, I know it's spring, and I know we've talked about, Marie Kondo a lot and the home edit women. But I am serious when I say that now that I am, moving into the empty nesting period, the first thing I want to do is create a clean empty nest.
This is so funny because this was what I wanted to ask you.
About cleaning my house?
Is that now that, look, there's like transitional periods with kids, right? Like your kids grow out of certain toys and you're like, hallelujah, I can get rid of all this stuff. They don't play with these toys anymore. They've moved on to video games and you clear out and it feels so good, right? But what are you getting rid of now that you don't have these kids in the house?
Before I go into that, I just want to remark that you not only say Halloween, you say hallelujah. There's an A. It's Halloween and hallelujah. It's going to bother me if I don't just point that out. But okay, moving.
Hallelujah. No, I think it's, you know what? Hallelujah or hallelujah. It's a transliteration. Okay. And I'm just saying you may or may not be right about Halloween, but I think there's a spread of ways to say hallelujah.
Okay, we digress. But back to the empty nesting. Yeah. So this transition, I think, is an emotional one and a physical one. Because as the boys are leaving, I'm realizing, I mean, it's really, and we felt this, of course, because this is the last one to leave the so-called nest. But, there's less laundry, obviously. There's less beds to change, and there's less clutter in the house. And now I'm realizing if I can't blame the boys any longer, right? After this, any clutter that's around is on me and Alan. And that is going to be just a huge reality check. And one thing is, I mean, the basement, I'm not a hoarder, okay? I'm a what-ifer. It's not a matter of like keeping stuff because I can't let go. I really just keep stuff because what if I need it? And this is why I can't get away from this. So we get a new TV, right? Which leads us in this rabbit hole. We hadn't gotten a new TV in 15 years. The new TVs have all these new wiring. The old wiring for our system to make surround sound was archaic, right? It's almost like you got to bring in MacGyver with his duct tape and batteries to upgrade it. So we upgrade the system, which is, it's not one thing. Everything has to go. So then I start getting out every piece of wiring and equipment, like the old Apple stuff, the time capsules, and the anything I had, the old routers. And I'm all like, do I need this? Right. Do I need this? So I have literally, it's like almost a duffel bag full of stuff. And the guy is going through it and saying, you don't need this. I'll take this. Can you use these wiring? And then I had an unopened,
I'll take this.
Right.
Sell it on eBay for $500.
Well, one of them was a hard drive, my old Apple time capsule, and he brought it back. He said, this is password protected. It has all of your stuff. I think you need to keep this. I said, I don't even know what's on it. He goes, then get one of your sons to get a hammer and destroy it because you don't want this out in the world, which is the reason I have all these old laptops because I don't want them out in the world.
Now you're supposed to drill holes in them.
Well, I need to get a drill. I know. I'm looking
You don't have a drill?
No, I don't have a drill.
I don't believe you. You don't have a drill?
No. I might have an electric screwdriver. That's the difference.
That sounds like it doesn't work very well.
It doesn't work very well. Yeah. But so all this to say, within that stuff was an unopened package, an Ethernet cable, right? That used to hard connect your router or whatever to your computer. And I'm all wireless, so I don't need it. And I said, well, do you need this? And he looked at me, this is just like 3 weeks ago, and said, you know what? I think you should keep that. You just never know when you might need it.
An Ethernet cable?
An Ethernet cable.
When would you need that?
That's what I'm thinking. Except right. I don't have a connection in my computer.
Right.
There is no, but he said it with such conviction that I said, fine, I will keep it. Well, that was 3 weeks ago. Fast forward to this weekend. Levi graduates. We have a graduation party where his band played, and they're setting up in our friend's backyard. And he calls me and says, Mom, I need you to go down to the band room and grab these cords. And by the way, do you happen to have an Ethernet cable? And I said, you are not going to believe this.
Damn it.
But I do. Yes, I have a brand new one that you can, and I send him a picture. I go, do you mean this? And he goes, that's exactly what I need. So just when I think I'm ready to get rid of all the stuff because that what if doesn't necessarily happen, the what if happened, and now I don't know what to do.
That ruins everything.
I know. And my plan is foiled. Darn it.
Foiled again.
Foiled
Marie
again.
Kondo. There's different categories of does it, like, do I love it? If not, I'll give it away. And then there's also, if I give it away, will it give me anxiety? Right?
That's it. Right. Right. I think Marie Kondo, that is the converse of that. It's not, or the balancing act of that. Does this bring me joy? And if it doesn't bring me joy, is it going to bring me more anxiety getting rid of it and thinking I could have used it?
And a third category is if I get rid of it and I wish I had kept it, can I get it next day through Amazon for under $10?
Exactly. And so Abe's home for like another day before he goes back to New Orleans. And so he's in his closet and he was trying to find something, and he goes, I'm cleaning out the closet, which I've been waiting for 2 years for him to say this. And the boys share a room, and they share this walk-in closet, which is a generous closet. For one person, it's really generous. For three, now 18, 20, and 22-year-old boys, it's not so big, and they've got so much clutter in there. So we start going through every drawer, and I was like, do you want to keep, and of course I'm going, do you want to keep it? Do you want to keep, he's like, no, listen to me. No, everything. So I just start making piles, and I've got 3 giant clothes piles now outside of his room. That brought me joy.
I need some things for Murray.
Oh, what do you need now?
He needs a basketball jersey. Or some sort of jersey. If you have have
500 jerseys, and I don't think they're getting rid of those anytime soon. Does he need to borrow it or needs to keep it?
He needs something for camp.
Oh.
He told me.
Okay, that's a side conversation he can have with Levi. Levi
Okay.
can bring him something to borrow.
Okay. All right. Although Murray, we took the kids to an Atlanta Hawks game, and Murray goes, "Can I get a basketball jersey?" And I said, yeah. So during like halftime or whatever, we walk into the store that they have there. He picks out what he wants. I get in line. I go up to the register. They go, "That's $180."
Right.
And I go, "What?"
You're like, I'm sorry, he's not actually playing basketball.
I'm like, we don't need the real jersey. Isn't there like the $15 version, the $35 version? Why are basketball jerseys so like $180? And I was like, maybe it's because we are at the Atlanta Hawks stadium and things are more expensive here, right? Like a Coca-Cola, $5. I can get it at the convenience store, $1. So I understand there's, there's like being at an airport. The prices are different. But then I looked it up on Amazon, same price.
Yeah.
They are so expensive. And I'm like, homie, don't play that. That's not happening.
Well, and all of that to say, we have about 20 jerseys. So we've got eBay in our closet, and the boys have been collecting since they were little.
You've got first semester of college in your closet.
I've got first semester of college. Sadly, I wish it did cover it.
Yeah.
But they, it's also, those are things they used to ask for their birthdays or Hanukkah, things like that. That was like their big gift because those things were investment pieces. That's why I'm not giving away any of the jerseys. I know how much they cost and that, if they ever want them, but they might have something little, and there's some things in their closet. I was giving away Abe's tennis uniforms. And because there's kids and they're all smalls and mediums. And of course, what does he say? He's become the what-iffer. Well, what if my kids want to wear it one day? I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you're 20. Like, can we not think about that? Right.
Yeah. So here's and this is the question I was going to lead up to was, you're an empty nester. There's obvious things you're getting rid of. Here's something big that I was wondering if you were going to get rid of. And you have this amazing play structure in your backyard that's really like built into the ground. Like that sucker is big, right? And it's like one of those things that, are you going to keep that for your grandchildren, or are you going to, you would really have to dig up your yard to get rid of it.
Yeah. The only way I would get rid of that is if it was rotting and it was going to be a hazard. Because there are little kids on our street, and I've told any kid under the age of 20, I'd say, if you ever want to play, right? If you ever need a playground, you don't have to ask, just come by. And we had our neighbor's kid who used to come by and play basketball all the time. We'd hear the basketball and I'm like, there's no kids home. Who is that? Right. And it was our neighbor's little boy, which made me so happy because I really wanted this to be for anybody to use if they're around. So we're not going to get rid of that. That also brings me joy. Yeah. If I'm keeping, let's be clear, if I'm keeping the wooden train set and all of the Matchbox cars, I'm definitely for the grandkids. I'm definitely keeping that play set for the grandkids. Levi already told me yesterday, oh, by the way, we're doing Thanksgiving at our house when I get older, which also brought me joy. But I thought, okay, he goes, or a house. You don't have to keep this house just for me. And I thought, well, now I do. I've got to keep the house for family occasions.
And I'm keeping the Pilgrim salt and pepper shakers too.
Yeah, all of that. And you're invited to.
Thank you.
Too. Yeah.
Because all of my kids are talking about 20 years from now when they've got spouses and children, and they're like, well, we're still doing this forever. Where will it be? And I was like, it'll be together. Yeah. That's where it'll be.
Well, and I'm realizing, I felt this earlier on, but you have that nuclear family, right? The 4 of you, the 3 of you, the 7 of you, whatever that looks like. And then once they start leaving, to bring back that family unit again, like for any extended period of time, is such a challenge. And then you just look forward to what are those moments. Like, we're all together for Levi's graduation, and now we won't all 5 be together till December. To be together twice a year on average is really, and not that I don't see everybody at some point, it's just to having all 5 of us back. It makes it hard and sad. And it also, look, this is the cadence of life, that you want this for your kids and you want this for your family. We're ready for it. We're all ready for it, but it doesn't make it less, you get a little nostalgic for the times where you just took for granted that we were all together all the time.
Right. Oh, yeah. I already burst into tears because I was like, the kids were talking about how there's only a week and a half left of school. And I was like, Murray's going to be a junior. And they think it's so funny when I cry about that stuff, which happens easily, of course, because I'm sensitive.
So in addition to being an empty nester, I am now at liberty, because of my empty nest, to share some of the parent hacks that I figured out while I had a full nest.
It's like a teenage trade secrets sharing.
Yeah. And before,
moment.
Some of them I was afraid to share in case the boys ever listen to the podcast. Let's be clear. I think they don't. Levi listened to one only because his friend was with him in the car and wanted to listen. And he was really a little disappointed that he had to admit that he liked it. But I don't think as a rule they listen. So there's probably really, no reason for me to hold back. But this is one of my best parent hacks from the past couple of years, and especially if you have teenagers. So the liquor cabinet. We ready for this?
Yes. Oh, and I'm scared.
Okay. So, we joked that when we were growing up, we didn't have a liquor cabinet. Mommy and Daddy put all the liquor in
a closet, the coat closet.
The coat closet, yes. So I started out with the coat closet liquor cabinet, and then I sort of moved it to the pantry, which is not really hiding it at all, because
that's where ours is. Yeah.
It's like next to the chips and the peanut butter, and then there's a bottle of tequila.
And we have a wine rack.
Yes. And we have a little wine cooler in the workout room. I was never worried that anybody was going to take wine. But the liquor, I will just say, there are ways to take liquor and then fill it back up with, let's say, water.
Let's just say
that that's one of the things that
a
teenager might do in 1986 when they're at Stephanie Meyerson's house. I'm just saying.
Let's just say I never did that. And by that, I mean, I never refilled it back up with water.
Right.
I just left it because I knew they weren't even watching.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest, we didn't really even have much liquor in the house. We would drink wine and beers every so often, but I wasn't drinking hard alcohol until a global pandemic hit. And then I became a pretty efficient and, might I say, masterful home bartender.
We call that a mixologist.
Yes, I did. I became a pandemically certified mixologist. And so my liquor quantity went from a half bottle of vodka in the freezer from circa 2007 to a full stock of every beverage imaginable. And then it just became unwise for me to keep it all in the pantry, and also not very convenient or wise to keep it in the coat closet. That's also for, consumption. I realized, and it took me a while, but I realized over winter break that there is a bar in our basement, which of course is where all these teenagers have been hanging out for years. So Alan and I it's not like we're frequenting there, but
I think you need to describe the bar, because when I think of bar, I think of like actual, like the 1970s basement bar.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
And yours is like built in. It's like a sink built into the wall with it's very
very simple. Yeah. So it's imagine a converted coat closet it's a shallow little kitchenette with an ice maker and a sink and 2 refrigerator drawers, and then these great cabinets above. And 2 of the cabinets are perfect for holding liquor. Right?
Can you just get a lock for it?
So thank you. This is the perfect segue. And that's what I've always said. I've always said there's got to be some sort of lock, number one, for your refrigerator. So if I had stuff in there, I could just lock it. Like I just can't just duct tape it. They can just take off the tape. But I thought for these cabinet doors, there's got to be some sort of locking system.
Right.
But
something you can add that.
I can add. But then when you start thinking, like, if you add something that's obvious, and I don't want, then they start saying, oh,
where's the key?
What's in the locked doors and where's the key? So I thought, well, there's got to be a hidden type of lock. But this isn't something that they have. I start doing the Google search, right? Hidden locks for cabinet doors. I don't know what search I'm doing. It's not like how to hide your liquor from your teenagers.
So you're trying to do like out of sight, out of mind. And it's more for teenagers that come into your house versus your own kids, because they, of course, are going to know what you put in there.
Well, theoretically, yes. But I was doing all of this over winter break when it just so happened we were empty nesting for about a week. So it was only me and Alan in the house. And I also say these cabinet doors are frosted, so you can't see behind them. Once you open them, obviously you can see everything. And what I stumbled upon is a hack that parents use for their toddlers, which is the magnetic doors, the magnetic closures on the cabinet doors in your kitchen.
Oh, do you need like another magnet to open it?
Correct.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So when the
it's like a
toddler,
keychain.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's not really a sense of, ooh, what's behind this door? There's a lock on it. It's just when someone pulls it, and I'm sure you've seen this or felt this or experienced it, maybe in an Airbnb or a VRBO, right? Where you're trying a door or a cabinet or a drawer and it feels locked, but there's nowhere to put a key, and you're like, well, obviously they don't want me in there, so you walk away. And it's really that 2-second thought process. This is locked, or I can't open it, I'm walking away. I just wanted that feel where somebody would try to pull on it and it wouldn't open, so they'd walk away. So I ordered, or I think I either ordered or I went to, there's no Babies R Us, but to Target and then to Ace Hardware, all these places trying to find these baby locks for cabinets that are magnetic, and I found them. So I install them and I put them at the top of these cabinets so that you can't see them. You can't see them when they're closed. I hide the magnet key because then I'm thinking,
oh no,
I've got to put it somewhere where I know where it is, but they don't know where it is. So I hide it behind some books that are on the shelf next to it. And
I would never.
Proud of myself.
I would lose it. I would lose that. I would have to get a keychain for it.
Yeah.
Or put like a tile on it so I could find it.
Yeah. Well, there's good and bad news. So the good news is, I think to this day, unless he happens to listen to a second episode of our podcast, Levi has no idea. His friends have no idea that there was ever a full stash of pretty premium liquor in that cabinet. If they tried it and didn't open it, I have no idea. I don't think he ever even knows that there's a key. Abe, on the other hand, who's probably our most street smart kid, within about 10 minutes of coming home from winter break, goes downstairs, realizes that cabinet door for the first time ever is not opening, and pulls it open, yanks my, what is just literally like double-sided taped to the cabinet, yanks off the lock.
He's like, it was stuck.
It
was stuck.
He figured it was stuck. Pulls it all open, and he comes upstairs with one of the components, and he's like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "What did I do? What did you do?" And he goes,
"Fail."
Well, I mean, obviously I was getting in there. It wasn't very strong. I go, well, it's not very strong because it also had to set for a few days to make sure that double-sided tape set. I go, and now you've ruined it. He goes, oh, that was pretty smart, except for it wasn't, right? I was getting in there. I said, well, now I have to redo it. So, of course, I redid the whole thing before Levi got home. So now Alan and I and Abe know about the magnetic key, and then Abe is like, he'd come home and be like, did he find out yet? Did he figure it out? I'm like, no, he never figured it out, and no one ever pulled it open again.
It's because Levi drinks beer. That's why.
Exactly. Levi wants nothing to do with the liquor.
He just goes into the refrigerator.
Right. He has distracted me. But that, I just feel like, it's full circle. The hacks that were good for us, for our kids when they were toddlers, when they were walking 1, 2, and 3, let's bring back those hacks, people, when they're teenagers. And even though we apply them for possibly different reasons, they still work for the most part. So There you go. There is my liquor cabinet magnetic hack of the day.
They are much stronger than they were when they were 3, though.
They're much stronger and they're much taller. So that's why,
taller than you.
I should put them in the bottom cabinets where they don't look. They're seeking all the top ones that I can't reach. So
Aaron tells a really funny story of when he was in high school. A friend of his, actually, he and his friends did not like this person very much, but she had a party, and when her parents went out of town, and she put a big sign up on a cabinet that said, "Liquor, do not touch," which was the worst possible
The worst
thing
kind of sign, yes.
For her to do. Like, she was not only like, here's where the liquor is, she's like egging them on. And they already were not a big fan of her. Fan enough to go to her party. But so, what do you think happened?
Yeah, they drank all the liquor.
Yeah, they drank all the liquor. That's what happens.
Never sicker.
Teenagers are going to teenage,
They are. And parents, as teenagers it's gotten harder to be a teenager, and therefore I think more challenging to be a parent of a teenager. So there's no right or wrong answers. I do know what I thought, the kind of parent I thought I would be when I was raising the boys, when they were 2, 4, and 6, is not the parent I ended up being when they were 12, 14, and 16 or beyond, right? It's you start to realize what are the most important things. So here they are, that they are safe, they are healthy, they are happy, right? Mentally, physically, emotionally. And that's it. Like if I can pretty much check those boxes, then everything else becomes relative. And I include their friend group too, who become like, our family.
Yeah, I have to say, nothing has prepared me in life going from the physical exhaustion of parenting babies and toddlers to the mental exhaustion of parenting teens and tweens. I went from being really worried they were going to die in their sleep to being super concerned they were going to murder me and mine. Of course, that's my material. I'm just doing my material on you, but yeah,
it's still funny. Yes.
And it's like, but it's true. It's like you're changing, and not that no one's going to murder me,
right.
But it's I just didn't know what, you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Right. With the pandemic also, that kind of flipped parenting on its head. And I think just as our parents were a different generation of parents compared to theirs, so are we.
Absolutely.
Like our grandparents, like we're the grandfathers on the floor playing with their kids, right? Like the dads have gotten a lot more engaging and interactive, and there's not traditional gender roles as there were 2 generations, 3 generations ago. And that affects your parenting style too.
Yeah. And I think we're just also, it helps that we're very honest with our kids about why, it's not just, we just don't say no because I said so. When they're
100%.
little, that works, right? It's like, no, you can't touch that. It's hot. Why can't I? Because I said so. Like at some point you're so exhausted physically and mentally.
Right.
I think as they're older, I think they appreciate, and it's easier for us to lay down the law, so to speak, but with some, the parameters have rationale behind them. This is why, and I want you to understand, and even as they're older now, like, I want you to understand my liability, right? Let's look at it that way. I want to understand what's your worst case scenario and what's my worst case. I remember interviewing a woman named Lisa D'Amour, who's written countless books on raising girls. And she talks a lot, this stuck with me. And she talked a lot about talking to teens about worst case scenario when they make bad choices. And she's like, tell me the worst case scenario about when you did this, this, and this. And so many, like 90% of the responses were that I'll get caught. Right? Like, and she says, that is not, like, for a parent, to catch a kid, like, that is not the worst case scenario for these children.
Yeah.
And she makes them really think through, like, okay, I hear what you're saying, right? That feels scary that you get caught doing it. But let's think about, forget getting caught. Let's see how that plays out, right? If for instance, if you're doing illegal substances, or you're drinking and you get a car with someone who is, and what happens to the driver, and you go down that play and really thinking through the practicality of some of those decisions. And not that I'm sitting there and lecturing our kids on every practical outcome or worst case scenario that can happen, but it's also letting them know, right, this is why I worry, and let's talk through what decisions you're going to make when you're not with me, because now they're not with me or Alan.
And I have to say, even, I know you said as toddlers you weren't explaining to them, but you were. You said you can't touch this because it's hot.
Right.
And
right.
I also was like, I've always prided myself on not being a because I said so parent, because I want them, when they're not with me, to be able to have an internal dialogue about their choices and understand that, like, oh, well, my mom and I were talking about this thing and she said not to do it because of X, Y, and Z. Now I'm back in this situation. Should I do this? Let me review those choices again and why it may not be good, versus like, she just said no.
Yep.
But I'm going to do it, right? Like, they need to have an internal dialogue of why, and understand why it's not great. And at the same time, like, especially Ruby, like, extremely tenacious, very logical. So she would come up, if I was saying no to something, she would, and I would explain why, she would often be like, but have you thought about this angle? And it was often so logical. And I was like, you know what? That is a really good point. And I like your point, and I'm going to now let you do it. Right. Yeah. And it's, I think you also have to give your kids an opportunity to have a voice, right? That sometimes it's okay for parents to change their no to a maybe or to a yes based on feedback they get from their kids.
Yeah. Well, with that said, though, now that we have no kids and Alan wonders why I ask him to do so much around the house, I'm just going to say, because I said so. Stop asking. There's no rationale.
And there's your husband hack right there.
That is my husband hack. You're welcome, folks. That is it. The gift that keeps on giving.
Although if we get real, we know Alan's actually the one asking you to do that stuff.
I know. I do nothing. It's all going to become crystal clear how little I do. Now that I don't have to cook for anybody, I think I have no role. So it's fine. I'm fine with it.
Well, thanks for listening to the latest Sis Tell podcast. Share us with your friends. Share us with your family. Share us with your foes.
As always, this has been Amanda and Alison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.